The year was 1944. Europe was burning under the thunder of war. But on one cold winter night, a mission began. One that would vanish into legend. Over 700 Allied bombers lifted off from airfields across England, their engines roaring like a chorus of steel giants. Their target, the industrial heart of Germany. The mission was supposed to be routine, a display of air superiority, a strike to cripple enemy factories. But as dawn approached, not a single message returned from hundreds of planes. Something had gone wrong. Terribly wrong. Radio operators listened in horror as static replaced the chatter of pilots. Weather stations had warned of a storm, but the skies above the North Sea seemed calm. No one could have predicted what waited over occupied Europe. A swirling chaos of ice, wind, and death. Veteran pilots later said it was as if the sky itself turned against them. Back at base, commanders paced the control room, their faces pale with disbelief. Hundreds of bombers gone. No enemy intercepts reported. No wreckage found. Just silence. Endless, haunting silence. Some believed they had been blown off course. Others whispered darker theories, that the Luftwaffe had used new secret weapons, or that something unnatural had happened that night. Whatever the truth, families waited for pilots who would never return. Entire squadrons were erased from the war overnight. Decades later, villagers across Europe would uncover pieces of wreckage. Twisted metal, fragments of engines, human remains buried deep beneath forests and farmlands. Each discovery raised the same question. What really happened to the bombers that disappeared into the clouds that night? The morning after the operation, the airfields of eastern England felt like ghost towns. The rows of hangars stood silent, except for the wind echoing between them. Ground crews waited for the familiar roar of returning engines, but none came. By noon, radio operators confirmed the unthinkable. 700 men were missing. No distress calls, no radar signals, no survivors. The mission logs simply stopped mid-transmission. Officers combed through radio transcripts, desperate for a clue. The final message, recorded at 02:43 a.m., read only, "Visibility 0." After that, nothing. For days, families waited by telegram, and base commanders whispered among themselves, how could an entire bomber formation disappear in perfect formation without a trace? The Royal Air Force immediately launched one of the largest air-sea searches in history. Dozens of reconnaissance aircraft swept across the North Sea, the English Channel, and even the frozen coastlines of Denmark. They found bits of metal, half-burnt rubber rafts, and a single oxygen mask. But no fuselages, no parachutes, and no men. Pilots returning from the search described something unsettling. Strange white flashes beneath the clouds, moving like lightning but slower, almost alive. One of them wrote in his logbook, it was as if the ocean itself was reflecting the storm in the sky. Locals along the Dutch coast reported hearing thunder even after the skies cleared. Whatever had happened that night didn't behave like weather. It behaved like something else. In the following weeks, RAF meteorologists studied the night's data and uncovered a bizarre pattern. The storm over the North Sea had created a supercell formation, a collision of Arctic and Atlantic air masses that produced static charges powerful enough to fry aircraft instruments. Witnesses from nearby bases recalled seeing green and violet lights flickering in the sky. St. Elmo's fire, a rare electrical phenomenon that sailors once feared as a ghostly omen. Surviving airmen who had flown near the area described compasses spinning wildly, altimeters dropping to 0, and engines stalling mid-flight. One navigator later said, "It was like the sky had turned into a magnet, and we were trapped inside it." Months later, British and American investigators found fragments of several aircraft scattered across impossible distances. One wing was discovered in Norway, while another engine was unearthed in Belgium. hundreds of kilometers apart. The pattern defied logic. A declassified RAF memo later revealed strange radar activity detected the same night, multiple echoes moving in perfect circles before vanishing all at once. Some intelligence officers believed it was a German electromagnetic experiment gone wrong. Others, more quietly, suspected something no one could explain. An atmospheric distortion, a magnetic anomaly, or perhaps something beyond science. But the official statement remained simple. All aircraft lost due to extreme weather. It wasn't until 2019 that part of the mystery resurfaced. Excavators in northern France uncovered a heavily corroded B-17 engine, half buried in peat. Inside the debris lay a silver pocket watch, its hands frozen at 02:43 a.m., the exact minute the bombers vanished from radar. Historians now believe the storm may have formed a rare electromagnetic vortex, capable of disabling aircraft simultaneously. But for those who lost brothers and sons that night, theories meant nothing. The sky that once symbolized Allied dominance had become their grave. The lost 700 would never return, but their story, and that frozen moment in time, became one of World War II's strangest and most haunting mysteries. For years, the story of the lost 700 was quietly buried beneath official war reports. The RAF called it an unfortunate meteorological event, and the U.S. Army, Air Forces classified all related documents under special weather incidents. Families received letters stamped "Killed in action, cause unknown." But not everyone accepted that explanation. In 1952, an anonymous whistleblower leaked a set of internal memos to a British newspaper. The papers described radar interference and radio blackouts recorded over the North Sea on the night of the mission, patterns that didn't match any known storm. The most shocking detail was a short phrase scribbled in the margin of one report. Circular formations, repeating intervals, not weather. The article was quickly suppressed, but copies circulated among veterans clubs and intelligence circles for decades. In the early 1960s, declassified documents from the British Air Ministry revealed that German radar operators also reported unusual electromagnetic echoes in the same area, strange loops appearing on their screens, moving too fast to be aircraft. Some Luftwaffe officers even believed it was a new Allied secret weapon. Historians now think that both sides were experiencing the same anomaly. One scientist, Dr. Henry Foster of Cambridge University, later proposed that the night's storm produced a charged vortex, a column of ionized air capable of bending radio waves and distorting radar. If that were true, the bomber formation may have entered a magnetic zone where their instruments failed simultaneously, trapping them in complete disorientation. They might have flown in circles for hours until fuel ran out, vanishing without ever realizing they were lost. Yet, some accounts pointed toward something darker. In a restricted file from 1947, an RAF intelligence officer mentioned intercepted German communications suggesting that an experimental weapon, known only as Project Donner, was being tested along the coast that same night. The project's goal was to disrupt Allied radar using high-frequency bursts from ground-based generators. Though never proven, several witnesses later described a glow on the horizon, unlike any lightning. When questioned, German scientists captured after the war denied involvement, but admitted that early prototypes of radar jamming towers existed near Bremen and Kiel, precisely along the missing bomber's route. Whether Project Donner actually caused the disaster remains unknown, but it deepened the mystery surrounding that fateful mission. The truth began to resurface only after the Cold War ended. In 1991, a retired RAF weather analyst named Thomas Reeves donated his personal journals to the Imperial War Museum. Inside, curators found hand-drawn maps showing wind patterns over the North Sea, and several strange notes. Unnatural static, multiple frequencies detected. Magnetized? Reeves had written that he was ordered to stop investigating after he linked the phenomenon to unexplained electrical surges recorded at British radar stations the same night. His log ended abruptly with a final entry. No weather could do this. Something else moved through the clouds. To this day, that line remains one of the most haunting sentences in the museum's collection. Today, historians and aviation experts still debate the mystery. Some argue that the disaster was caused by a rare geomagnetic storm, the kind that can disable entire power grids. Others insist the Luftwaffe's experiments with radar interference were far more advanced than admitted. And then there are those who believe the bombers encountered a natural event that science still can't explain. The wreckage scattered across Europe tells a story of chaos frozen in time. A night when the sky swallowed hundreds of men whole. To the families who lost them, it was not just an accident of war, but a tragedy beyond reason. Their memory lives on, carried by the few fragments found. A twisted wing, a rusted compass, and the silence of the North Sea that still hides their final flight.